new day, and lots of stuff to talk about around the world. Um, got a guest here named Rob today, and we're going to be going over different things. But a lot of big stuff's happening right now. I just wanted to get some of these things out of the way. That's pretty darn interesting. If you don't know that Pat Sajak and Vanna White are done. They are no longer part of the Wheel of Fortune. That whole thing, like 41 years, pretty incredible. I didn't watch it much. I caught them here and there. I'm not a big game show person, but the one thing that caught me about both of them, though, is, of course, Vanna White was a beautiful lady. Pat Sajak, was great at hosting, but they were best friends. Their spouses and them hung out. Their families, they became best friends over their whole careers. I think it's one of those Hollywood, LA stories that we want to follow. It's healthy, it's good, it's solid. So hats off to them for just being so classy. They both said some really nice things to all their listeners, for through all the years. But it's the end of an era, and everything is replaceable, and so that's the Wheel of Fortune. I think sometimes we think things are going to go on forever, and they just don't. So again, a game show. Some people watch it, some people don't, but they had one of the longest runs in TV history, and they did really well. Another big thing that happened this week is on June 6th we had D-Day anniversary, and D-Day was the Operation Overload with the Overlord that came through with the Allies invading the Atlantic Wall, which was Hitler's wall constructed by Erwin Rommel, one of his famous generals, to try to keep the Axis powers in power. So all of the United States, Great Britain, and Canada were the main participants in D-Day. And it was the biggest armada that has ever taken place in the history of the world. And it was an incredible achievement with all the military strategists at the time. You got to remember, back then we didn't have satellites, so we didn't have all the stuff we have today. We didn't have all of the technology. A lot of this stuff was, was coming in, and they were doing the best they could. The weather wasn't very good. The English Channel, a lot of times the weather's not very good there. They stalled it by a day, but you're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of soldiers, ships, bombs, airplanes. I mean, this took a lot to coordinate. It was also a devastating day in the loss of human life for both sides. The Navy came in and just absolutely just shelled, the beaches. But the Germans had dug in deep. They had bunkers, and it didn't get them that good. They put up big barricades and barbed wires and out in the water. They kind of knew what was coming. They didn't know how it was coming. And the Germans, fortunately, missed by about 150 miles exactly, where, like Omaha Beach and all the famous beaches of the landing actually took place. 2,000 paratroopers landed behind enemy lines. They all had their own missions. If you think about the logistics of this thing, 13,000 bombs were dropped on that just to soften it up. The amount of just attacking, coming at the Germans was extreme, but they hung tough, and they caused a lot of damage, and they also caused a lot of human life to be had that day. It was a tough, sad day. There's been a lot of movies made about it, and all I've ever heard from the people who are actually there is no way you can recreate what really happened, the horror of that day. If you were one of those people coming on those beach and those landing crafts, and you faced an onslaught of German just machine gun fire that was unbelievable, landmines, all the things that happened. Many didn't even get out of their landing craft, and they were killed. Over 2,500 Americans were killed the first day. In the war, 293,121 Americans were killed in World War II. That's a third of a million people. World War II was devastating, but D-Day is something we always have to remember, because when we're in today's world where we see so many people on these college campuses chanting "Death to America," I believe these are coordinated attacks by people like the Antifa people, the George Soros funded people who just want to cause chaos and destruction, and they do a great job of it. And they get these people to say the dumbest stuff like "death to America." And for all those people that fought for our country, just want to say thank you. And for all the families that had to endure everything and the losses. Just the other day, on Memorial Day, we actually did some reels on D-Day. A friend of ours called, and there was a man who had lived in Newberg, Oregon, my hometown, and he was at D-Day. And he just passed away recently of natural causes. He survived it, and he was at Omaha Beach. And he came back, and we're going to do a future people story on him. We want to get more facts and details from the family. But can you imagine going through all that and then coming back to the United States in a situation where you are just coming back to your job? You're a truck driver, you're a teacher, you're a factory worker, you're an accountant, you're a business owner, and you're also a son, a daughter. You're also maybe a husband, maybe a father, and you come back to just a normal world after being through the hell of D-Day. Would have been a fascinating person to talk to. Don't even know if he would want to talk about it. Many times when people are in those situations in war, they don't. But D-Day happened this week. Don't let things like this go by without acknowledging them. In Newberg, Oregon, where I live, you can go down to the local park and you can literally go to the memorial and you can see all the names on there. There's quite a few names from World War II. We read some off the other day. And again, every one of these people were a son. Most of them are pretty darn young. Their birth on their time was like say 1922 to 1944, 22 years old. Wow, and younger, and then some older. But there was quite a few just from our hometown. And so, and then there's obviously the Korean War, the Vietnam War. World War I is on our memorial. A lot of towns have that. Newburgh's not tiny, but it's not a big town. Other things going on around the world, in Florida, Hawaii, California, we got shark attacks happening everywhere. And it's like, what is going on? I've been in the different oceans, and it's like, swimming and everything. And I used to want to learn how to surf really bad. I have been surfing in Hawaii. It's the single hardest athletic thing I've ever tried in my life. And I've tried a lot of them. This was the hardest by far. And I remember being way out though with my cousin, who was a great surfer named Dave. And he was so good and I was so bad. But I remember being out there laying flat on the surfboard, and you get a different perspective of the ocean compared to the land you're coming into. Water's warm in Hawaii. It's beautiful. But I just remember thinking Jaws. In 1975, I believe that's the year Jaws happened. My friend Larry Camp had a boat, and we went up to go skiing at Hag Lake. It's a man-made lake about 15 miles from our house. And we kind of drifted towards the deep end where the dam was at. And it's pretty deep down there, and all of a sudden I'm in the water, and my first time to ever try water skiing. And 2 weeks before that, we'd saw Jaws. Oh yeah, you know where this is going. And so my buddies obviously thought this was pretty funny to yell shark. While I'm in the water, the skis make you feel like you're going down. They're heavy on your feet, and they're about ready to, I'm about ready to try to get up again after crashing several times. And they yelled shark. I'm looking around for a fin. I'm looking around for anything to get myself back in that boat. Because you have to remember, in 1975, if you're old enough to know any of this, Jaws was pretty realistic, and it was the big hit, and it came on, and it just scared the bingies out of us. And boy, I'm in that boat. I was back in that boat like Michael Phelps, and I'm crawling over the top with the skis on my feet, and they were laughing so hard. And these were my best friends, of course they were. We're 17, 18 years old. That's what guys do to each other. You're brutal. And so no sharks in a freshwater lake in Oregon, by the way. But when you hear shark after seeing Jaws, you're thinking you're about ready to get eaten. That's what I felt like. So you can call me crazy, but probably one of the scariest moments I've ever been in the water But we're having more shark attacks. Why? I don't know. I don't know, but there are shark attacks, going on. I just saw a video right next to shore where people were swimming and a shark swam right through several swimmers and people started seeing it. I don't think it was a really big shark, but they were telling, get out of the water, get out of the water. Kind of like Jaws. It was crazy.
Dave, was there a bigger movie that came out than Jaws that caused more panic
Oh,
than
I
Jaws?
know. No, I mean, I've talked to people that have been impacted by this their entire lives.
Mm.
It changed literally how people looked at water. Like, so Rob, seriously, that's a great question. No, I don't think so. I think that movie devastated a lot of people's perceptions of, just what's down there in the water. So,
So I was listening to your talk about D-Day, and obviously, we have so much respect. And believe it or not, my wife and I watched Saving Private Ryan, the first half of it. But I tell you what, that is sobering account of what happened. But we got Flag Day coming up, June 14th. So the flag's obviously very meaningful to you. You have it tattooed on your body. So talk about Flag Day, about stuff, and maybe talk about Flag Day for a little while, Dave.
well, I think, in our country, you guys, we've just gotten a little bit lazy in everything. And one of those is Flag Day. Honoring our flag that's been fought for by all those people in D-Day. And our service people have been serving our country since the beginning of our country. You can start with George Washington and all his, fellow patriots at that time. The flags change as we've added stars and things like that. But man, Flag Day should be huge. We need to get back to where the United States is not looked at as this big bad place. The United States is a moving, fluid, country, and we have been since we started. Technology, people, things have changed, but the one thing that stays pretty consistent is the fact that we have freedom, and the flag is just a representative of that freedom. It is a symbol of that freedom. It's an acknowledgement of that freedom that we can do this. That yesterday I can take my grandkids and go swimming. That I can go, teach tennis last week, which we did at the park, that we can just go hang out with our friends. We can get in a car right now and you can drive to, say, Mount Rushmore. You could, I don't care where you live out in the country. From here, it's a 2 or 3 day drive, been there a couple times. And when you're walking up the runway to Mount Rushmore and you see a couple big American flags, you'll see a flag for every single state in the Union. And I just stopped and looked at every single flag, whether it was a big state or a small state. And flags represent who we are, and the United States is a great place. So, Rob, great question. I think that people need to get an American flag out there in the front of their house, to wear a shirt maybe, but stop somewhere like in our town, Newburgh, Oregon. There's a big flag downtown, right on the main road where it kind of splits into two ways, and if the wind's blowing at all, it's beautiful. Over on 205, in Clackamas, at the Harley Davidson shop, there's a bigger flag, and it's just majestic. And when I see that, I'm proud to be an American. So, Rob, great question. Great question. Keep those coming. Did that answer your question there, dude?
Yeah, great. I mean, it's kind of a forgotten about holiday. I mean, again, I'm a veteran. It's very meaningful to me. I know you have a flag from Afghanistan, and flag, is all over. Flag's very symbolic of your love for America.
You
So
didn't
yeah,
tell me you're a veteran.
yeah, I'm a
What
veteran. Yeah, I started in the Army.
you did?
Yes, I did, sir.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I'll tell you what. I was a kid from the Midwest, didn't have a whole, I mean, I didn't have family, didn't have tons of money to be able to do anything. So I joined the Army to pay for my college education, and ended up staying 7 years. I was actually a writer for the Stars and Stripes newspaper. So I was a sports writer. I know you talked about writing about sports, and I love that. That really burned in me. It became a huge thing for journalism, and just love doing it. And I guess it's kind of the old days with the old school journalism, when people were reliable sources, and you double check facts, and things were a little bit more reliable, I guess, in a lot of ways. So yeah, see, I did that, and once I got out of the military, I worked as a journalist and went to school and got my degree and all that. But yeah, I owe a lot to the military and a lot of people really mentored me. People talk about the military standing up for your country and what have you. For me, being a young guy at 18 years old, and having a ton of responsibility just shoved on me, it was good to have people, strong male role models who could mentor me and kind of a no BS way. You know what I mean? It was just,
Yeah.
this is the way we do things. So yeah, it was valuable for me and really set me up. Again, I think in some ways, when, because I was a journalist, a photojournalist, and, I certainly did my part. But well, you hear about stories about some of these guys who are, just, on the front lines, and, you really feel like, I mean, I appreciate when people say, thank you for my service. I definitely appreciate that. But I'm like, man, those are the people, the people who are getting shot at, and, and having to, deal with a lot of things after the fact too, so I definitely have a love for that. My grandfather, my father was a veteran, my grandfather was a veteran, so kind of runs in our family. So yeah.
Well, the St. Louis kid never ceases to surprise me here. Good job. I wish I could have went. I was the last of 6 kids, and I just didn't have the opportunity to freely leave my mom and dad, who were older at the time.
Mm,
And I was kind of like the one that was going to have to take care of them. And I did. And it was a lot of work. And I don't regret it. I think it shaped kind of who I was as I got older. So between
mm,
ages of about 12 to 30, I had to be there. So I
yeah,
wanted to, I really did. I remember 1973 at Newburgh High School, we were about to get draft notices for the Vietnam War, and the war
mm,
ended. The seniors had gotten their draft picks, and the juniors were about to. And so I remember kids saying, I'm going to go to Canada. And I remember one day
mm,
specifically, I got asked, what are you going to do? I said, well, if my country wants me to go, then I'm going to go. But it was a crazy political time,
sure.
a little bit like we're in now, Rob.
Mm,
We're kind of that same mode now. But thanks for serving. I
yeah.
appreciate that a
Well,
lot.
well, thank you again. My hat's off to those special operations people and the people that dive out of airplanes and people that crawl through mud patties for hundreds of yards. I mean, it's a tough life. You know what I mean? I don't care what you do in the military, whether you're a cook or whether you're a specialized sniper. It's a tough life, and there's a lot of expectations of you, going above and beyond. That's just the norm. It's not just meet the standard. It's go above and beyond. So I think people should be proud of the military. There's a lot of great, really great things going on with young people in the military.
Yeah, I think right now, being through public schools, I was always disappointed we didn't honor our veterans more. Some schools do a great job of that, others don't do very good at all. And I was always disappointed we didn't do more. When kids played for me on my basketball teams, for example, you always have the national anthem before the game, and we'd practice. We
Mm,
literally, in a height line and the coach's height line. And I said, you don't have to put your hand above your heart. I said, I would appreciate it if you did, because you never know when you're going to have a former military person like yourself sitting in the stands who is looking at that and going, they see the respect. And so I think that's something that the kids had no problem with doing. They wanted to be respectful. And so I think a lot of young people, the military is a great option.
yep.
So, there are a couple random things. I'm going to keep going here. Just some random facts I came up with I thought were pretty funny. 130 years ago, Coca-Cola was started, and it is the number
Oh,
one soda in the United States. And it takes up 19.2% of the market share, Coca-Cola. Number two, Dr. Pepper just tied Pepsi. So I know this is really important stuff. So those are your top three. Four is Sprite. Five is Diet Coke. Number six is Mountain Dew. And so even though there's a lot of other options that there weren't available in the past, that's that. Here's another fun one for you. Top 10 most popular grossing shows of all time on TV. See if you pick up on the theme. Number one, Simpsons. Number two, Friends. Number three, Modern Family. Number four, Big Bang Theory. Number five, Cheers. Number six, Frasier. Number seven, Seinfeld. And number eight, Everybody Loves Raymond. Have you picked up on the theme that these were all half-hour sitcom comedy type shows? And I think it just goes to show you that's what people turn on the TV for. Um, Wasn't much of a Simpsons fan. Friends was okay, more when I got older in the reruns. Modern Family a few times. Did watch the Big Bang Theory a little bit. Cheers for sure. Frasier some. Seinfeld some. Everybody Loves Raymond probably quite a bit. Just different seasons of life where you come across those shows, but just some random, silly facts. Today, NBA Finals, Game 2. Dallas Mavericks against the Boston Celtics. Boston just put a whooping on them in game 1. Dallas started off slow. They came back, still got whooped bad. So Boston's up 1-0. French Open final, Carlos Alcaraz beats Alexander Zverev in a final. I've seen them play live, but it was, what do we got here? 7-5, 2-6, 5-7, 6-1, 6-2. Carlos Alcaraz's third major championship. On the women's side, Iga Swiatek won 6-2, 6-1 Laney from Italy. And so Iga Swiatek is just killing the girls' game right now. But United States, Coco Gauff teamed up with Czechoslovakian Katrina Senkova and won a women's doubles. And Coco is probably our top women's player. I've seen her live. She's fun to watch play. She's a neat kid. And then another one, Kayla Bigham from Los Angeles, California, ends up winning. No, I'm sorry. Let me get yep, that's his name, Caleb Bigham. He's from LA. He beats Poland's Tomasz Binkas 4-6, 6-3, 6-2 to win the French Open Junior Boys title. He will attend UCLA next year, and it's such a high level of tennis. But if they played Alcaraz, they get smoked. Those are a few things. Caitlin Clark did not make the Olympic women's team. I want to talk to Rob about that. I'm not disappointed. I think they picked a really good team. She's a rookie, and she's had a lot of attention. So if it motivates her, great. If it humbles her a little bit, great. I think they all need that. I probably would have picked her for the team just because she can shoot the lights out. So she's a better shooter than anybody on that team they have. Inescu that played at the University of Oregon is probably the only one even close to can shoot as good as her. So yeah,
Well,
some of the fun
Dave,
facts.
here's the thing that I wanted to ask you about, and so I kind of glitched out there for a little bit. The Olympics, really this is right up what you and Judy are fighting, where there's, the trans issue, the issue of trans athletes competing, and now it's on the international stage. And boy, I'll tell you, it's a real sticky issue for, some of these governments. Why don't you talk about that? And then certainly you can talk about Caitlin Clark, getting cut and
Sure.
what that means to you. But boy, I mean, from a PR standpoint, just because America is, standing for whatever it might be, whatever it is this week, those Arab countries and some of these very, Christian countries aren't really so easily, willing to flip. So what do you do? What does the Olympics do here? I really think this is a doomsday element of the Olympics, is something that I think could really tear the whole thing apart. So what do you think? I'm going to jump off, Dave.
Yeah, I think, for me, everybody, Judy and I have taken a stand. That's why we resigned at Canby High School. I was head coach. Judy was varsity assistant, head JV coach. And we had seen boys playing against girls in tennis. And then we saw it in track. Big deal this year in Oregon track. Ruined to me. It ruined the 6A state track meet. And it impacted the 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A because they all were aware of it. And the biggest thing here, you guys, there's talk of the safety of the girls. And the women. There's talk of scholarships. There are 1,000 different ramifications to have males playing in girls' sports because this goes way past sports. This is going to impact women's rights in every arena, every segment of life, and we're allowing this to happen. And I would like to challenge all women everywhere to step up, even if you are. Where's all the feminists? I mean, protect women's rights. I mean, you talk about sometimes, why not here? These are not women. These are men who are saying they're women. And I get that. It's another whole nother issue. We're going to have to dive into it at another point where, you have a person who is scientifically, biologically a male. And yet they say, today I'm a girl. We've had that happen in Oregon, and they flip back to being a boy and playing a boy sport back to being a girl. This stuff's happening also. This whole thing, to me, is just a big lie to those males, and saying that's how I feel. Um, honestly, we've done pretty good in our world because we look at science, look at facts, we look at things straight up, and we just try to deal with them the best we can. On this particular case, though, we've gone so far down this. This is how I feel. This is what I think I am. And this is a lie that we let perpetuate with especially our young people. And we all know, going back to our time, being a middle schooler, high schooler, or college student, 20s, it's a tough time to navigate through all of the different factors. And but what we've done here is we're just lying to these people and saying, yeah, you're a girl today. No, you're not. And what they've done is you take a true biological boy who has a penis, who has all that male hormones, who has all that male strength, and God made them that way. And you're going to hear me say this all the time, and I'm going to get all Bible on you right now. I am a Christian. I do believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, died on that cross for my sins. I believe that when I asked for forgiveness, he said, I'll forgive you for your sins. And I just have to acknowledge him and know that he died on that cross for my sins. And he did it for you. He did it for everybody. He made it so simple. But he also made me exactly the way he wanted to make me. Now, I wish I could have been in on that and say, could I be 6'9" like Larry Bird? Could I, had a little bit more money in my family, maybe, Lord? Could I have had a little bit more jumps in my jumps? Could I have been a little quicker? But no, he made me exactly the way he made me. And these young people are claiming to be trans. God made them to be a boy or to be a girl. And yeah, I know you have to have a biblical belief. You have to believe in Jesus to believe that. And but he did. God made them perfect. He made them exactly the way he wanted them to be, and he did not make them to be a girl, a boy being a girl out there playing sports. And what we're doing, though, that goes way beyond that, way past that, is what we're saying to these girls is you're not that important, because we're gonna let somebody come in and just jump all over your sports. And
But Dave, the fact that this has gotten to the highest level now, I mean,
oh,
this is like international now. This is the Olympics. I mean, it's not just local anymore. It's not just something that's happening in another community. It's happening on the highest stage. So, what do you think about that?
I think that as a world since COVID, we have really taken a right turn when it comes to how we're dealing with a lot of issues. Rob, the peer pressure is so great in so many different areas of society. For an example, if you're an educator, especially in Oregon, because and you know what, we're ranked 46 in the country, Rob, as far as an educational system in Oregon. We're not doing a very good job. But in Oregon, if you're an educator and you stand up and say anything like I just said, I spent 20 years in Newberg High School, 4 years on a school board. You will get roasted and toasted. And I have been. And you cannot say anything. My wife absolutely treated awful by coworkers because she dared to say that she believed in Jesus, that she wasn't going to, believe in some of this stuff. And if you say something, you're going to get absolutely ostracized. That's happening in all segments of society. And so I believe we're starting to turn a corner. I believe more and more people are saying, whoa, time out, wait a second, not putting up with any of this kind of stuff anymore. And unfortunately, now it's worldwide. And you look at what COVID did to us, Rob, with all the communication over COVID, vaccinations, mask, all the lockdowns, everything. So many mistakes were made. I feel like the trust factor is through the floor. From Fauci to the government to our governors to our that made us do all this stuff. They did a lot of major, massive, maybe one of the most harmful things that's ever been done to humanity outside of wars was COVID and the way it was dealt with, and it wasn't dealt with correctly. And we're carrying that same thing into like gender ideology, and it's tough, Rob. It's going to be, who's going to stand up and do and say the right thing. But past all that, again, Rob, I'm getting back to women's rights. What have we done when we blew up Title IX, Joe Biden, and you're sitting back and saying, hey, women's rights, I guess they're not all that important. I guess we don't really care. That's so wrong, because we fought so long and so hard. Rob, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, allowing all of the Negro League stats to come into Major League Baseball. And I've thought about this more since we talked about this, Rob. I believe those guys could play ball just as good as their white counterparts. I think that they probably had fantastic baseball games. I think that in 1920, 1925, 1930, 1935, those guys could have stepped onto a major league ball field in Brooklyn or Philadelphia or Boston, and they would have done just fine. And we finally, allowed Jackie Robinson to be the first black man to come in and play Major League Baseball. Did we wait too long? Of course we did. Like I said earlier in the show, the United States is a moving target, and we're slow sometimes, but we got better. Then all of a sudden, Title IX gives women all these rights, and now we're just grabbing them and taking them back and stepping on them all over the place.
Well, Dave, I moving on. That's a great take on that. But you've several times since I've been working with you on the show have referenced your love for this Caitlin Clark, and I understand she's a great player and all that, but she's one of many players. I mean, why is she being singled out? And then now you're a little upset about her not making the Olympic team. So you got to give us a little bit more. What is it about this Caitlin Clark that you find to be so awesome that you want to be her personal public relations agent? Hang up and listen.
I go back to Inescu, though. Inescu, that played for the Oregon Ducks, was kind of the first female player outside of maybe Cheryl Miller back in the day, who I watched and I'm like, okay. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't watch a lot of women's basketball, early on. And I think the league is, they're scrambling to make it. They're scrambling to get bigger crowds. They're scrambling for the TV deals. But go back to 1980 when Larry Bird and Magic Johnson joined the NBA, Rob. A lot of people say that saved the NBA. I don't think they saved the NBA. I just think they just brought what they brought. They brought this tremendous amount of Magic Johnson magnetism. They brought this tremendous amount of intrigue with Larry Bird, this country kid from French Lick, Indiana. And then you had Magic Johnson, and the fact that they played for the NCAA championship game, the previous year, and the Magic Spartans from Michigan State beat the Indiana State Hawkeyes, Sycamores, and fantastic story leading up. And they came in and just transformed the NBA. Their commercials hit, the Commerce commercials where they're going at it, and they were the perfect foils for each other, and the Hatfields and the McCoys. And, it just was perfect timing. The NBA was getting a little static. I don't think they saved the NBA. They just made it way better. I think the golden age of the NBA was the 80s and 90s. And so I think Caitlin Clark's that same type of thing as Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Maybe a little bit more like Bird in the fact that she's not super personality-wise like Magic. Magic was just a star waiting to happen. Larry was a star on the basketball court, but he was shyer. And Caitlin Clark has a set of skills I've never seen in a woman athlete in basketball. So you asked me what to say as a coach. I'm picking the best 10 or 12 players to go to Paris. She's on that team. But then, hey, she's a rookie. And I think she's very talented. And I think she's bringing something that a lot of the ladies in the NBA, WNBA better just sit back and say, awesome. Let's really get past the racial thing because she's white. Let's just say she's a great basketball player. Just like if we sit back and say the greatest basketball player of all time is Michael Jordan. He's a black man. So he's the best basketball player of all time. Get over it. I'm a huge Larry Bird fan. I think he's in the top 5. I think he's the best forward to ever play the game, in my opinion. But he's not as good as Michael Jordan. And Larry Bird would be the first one to tell you that. My goodness sakes. But Caitlin Clark's amazing. And she's bringing so much excitement to the game. I think she's not only bringing that excitement, she's going to transform the way our young girls are playing the game. I promise you, within the next 2 to 5 years, you're going to start seeing more players come in the WNBA, pulling up deep on threes, the crossovers, the passes. She passes more fun than anybody in the NBA today. I love the way she passes. Luka Doncic is pretty great, but he waits too long. He likes to be showy. Caitlin just makes the pass early and gets it done. It's called the trigger passer, and she's so good at it. So Rob, there's your answer to your question. I think Caitlin Clark is legit, and she's going to help the WNBA get bigger.
Well, we are dealing with the NBA Finals. Your team, the Boston Celtics, tearing it up again. People just don't like the Celtics. They don't like anything Boston. They're just like, whether it's the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Celtics. People just have a deep dislike for Boston. So tell me why we should love Boston. Why should we be excited about it?
Well, I'm not as much of a Boston fan as I was in the Bird era. Yeah, I think, I mean, the Yankees, the New York, Boston, the big cities, they have lots of money. They've had a lot of success, and the jealousy, I think, is more than anything. But it's a good Boston team right now, and they've added some mix to their pieces that are pretty good. Dallas is not out of this thing, no. I honestly think today this is going to be a great game. If I had to bet my money on this game, I think you're going to see a close Dallas win. I think it'll be 113 to 110 Dallas. So there you go, Rob. If you got $5, you better go put that thing and bet on it. I'm telling you. I think Dallas will come to play today. I think Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving's gonna have a big game today. I think Kyrie's gonna torch Celtics tonight. So they're embarrassing game one. They'll come back.
So, Dave, where are you going? Are you going to be on the road? You coming up this week? What do you got going on for this week? Where can people catch up with you?
Yeah, one of the exciting things, Rob, moving up with Stand Tall is behind the scenes. Everybody is, thank you to so many people in politics and business people out there. Going to be speaking, and being a big part of the Jackson County Make Oregon Great Again conference here coming up. We're excited for all the people that are coming along and want to be part of Stand Tall. And our goal, everybody, is to provide a place where you can come get your education, your politics, your Jesus, your sports, and your people stories. When we say Jesus and sports and the people stories, those are kind of the fluffy, fun stuff. Our meat and potatoes will be more politics and education, and we want to just give you the information. Just having a long talk with my son last night, Rob, and he's a great guy. I love him to pieces. And he's not bashful about talking to me, but we're talking about Republicans and Democrats, and and there's just a lot of people that are excited to be a Republican or a Democrat now. Have
Dave,
more.
hold on a second. I need to jump you off. Let's see if I can put you back on. Dave's glitching out. Let's see what we can do with him here. Are you better?
I
No?
switched sides.
Yeah,
Little shake and bake. Little shake and bake.
You're kind of glitching out, so we'll see. But anyway, I want to give you a chance to continue your thought. I apologize for that.
No,
You're frozen on my screen, so I'm not sure.
no, I went right. You went left. So I mean, that was my best move, going right in basketball. But I think I'm back left. Then boom, boom. I think right now that they're kind of ticked at politicians, and I think honestly, rightfully so. It's been a long time since we've had. I think that that really strong belief, and it's hurting our pride and our flag and our country and everything, because politicians are. They're hard to like right now, Rob. They really are, on both sides of the coin.
Well, Dave, you're way more biblical than I am. I mean, I obviously know the Bible, but you know it word for word. Wasn't there something about the devil causes chaos, and that's what politics is. It's just chaos right now. That's what the devil's brought to societies, is all this chaos.
Well, I believe in the spiritual darkness. I really do, without sounding too weird. I believe that Satan is out there, and spiritual darkness. You guys don't know, he's active. If you believe in God, you have to believe in Satan, and he's working. And he works in a dark way. And man, when you see the mental illnesses we have out there, and you see, to me, the attack on the genders in our country, and you see the attack on just other people in our country, the cancellation of other humans, just drop the hat, you're just not going to talk to anybody anymore. I believe that's all a spiritual darkness, Rob. And so, yeah, that is Bible-y, but I think it's really true. Some people think we're in the end times. They think we're closer to the rapture because of all the chaos. I go to Athey Creek, and Pastor Brett Metter once a month does a prophecy update, but he does not throw out any dates. He doesn't step back and say, July 15th, 2024, the rapture is going to happen. And the rapture is the second coming of Jesus for those people who don't know. And it could happen July 15th. It could happen 5 minutes from now. It could happen in 100 years from now. We don't know. He doesn't tell us. That's up to Jesus to decide. But there is a lot of chaos out there. One thing, go back, Rob, to when Black Lives Matter kicked in, when we got past COVID after George Floyd, they said, we're going to tear down the system, create chaos everywhere we've been. And since then, think about it, everybody, they have created chaos everywhere, starting with all the riots in the towns, and right here in Oregon, in Portland, Oregon. But now it's filtered down even to our smaller communities where you have people that are just at odds at school board meetings and city council meetings and even workplaces and families. It's really sad. But then also look what just happened recently on all of our colleges. Does anybody for a second think that wasn't organized and coordinated when we got dozens of colleges at about the same time? All of a sudden now we've got this Palestinian, protest going on, and the Israel protest and the Gaza Strip. And, I think that was totally like a George Soros type funded, organized event with a lot of outsiders coming in and instigating chaos. And, man, they do a great job of it. I know for a fact kids I coach went into Portland, Oregon, Rob, and people would walk up to them and hand them $20 to take a brick and go through it through a window. These are solid kids I know really well. They just went downtown Portland just to check it out. And that was somebody had opened up a big trailer with a pallet of bricks on it. And so I mean, come on, tell me that of course that's organized. This isn't random people at a bar just sitting back and going, we're ticked off and we're going to go talk about this, and then we're going to go yell at some police officers. This was organized. And so this,
Well, Dave, I know we're getting ready to kind of close out the show. I was wondering, can I share a story that I came across the internet, and I've been kind of waiting to tell you because it's one of these things I want to kind of get your reaction to. But apparently this is a true story. So in the late 1890s at Stanford University, there were two college students who were trying to raise money. They were poor. They were just trying to raise money to be able to stay at Stanford University. So they concocted this idea to contact this very famous Polish pianist and see if he would come to Stanford and have a concert. And it was going to end up costing them, I think they said like $7,000 at the time. Yeah. So the pianist, a very world famous guy, agreed to come. I said, okay, yeah, I'll do this. That's fine. Well, the guys, they tried raising the money and they couldn't raise enough. They were short, so they were embarrassed. They just said, all we could raise was like $4,000. We'll give you the check and then we'll go ahead and, write you a check later for the other two. He said, no, just pay the expenses that you need. Whatever you have left over, send me a check and then we'll call it even. It's more important that you create this event for your college. So everything was great. The students were obviously very thankful. Well, it turns out that the guy who was the pianist became a huge politician in Poland. Well, as you know, in World War II, Poland suffered hugely. They suffered, famines. They were, their food supplies were cut off by the Nazis. So this guy was in real trouble with trying to find ways to get food to his people because he was like the premier of Poland at the time. So he reached out to someone at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and said, please, or the FDA or whatever, and said, please, we appreciate, we need your help. So someone arranged for all these supplies to be delivered to Poland, and obviously turned the tide and was such a big thing. And so the president of Poland, the end of the story is coming up, I promise you, the president of Poland, this prime minister of Poland decided, I need to go to America and thank the people who made this gift, this wonderful gift, thank them in person. So he gets to Washington, he's sitting in the ceremony, and he turns to the person's hand. He says, President Hoover, I really should, thank you for all the help you've given us here, with, that you've given us. And the gentleman said, oh no, President, I should be thanking you because I was one of those the president said, I was one of those college students that you helped in 1890. So you talk about things coming around like, wow, that guy ended up helping Herbert Hoover, who's a huge icon here where we live in Newburgh. What do you think about that story? I mean, pretty interesting, huh?
Well, I think it's like, as a coach, I just know when I have somebody come up from 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, Rob, and they say something like that, on a much smaller scale, obviously, uh, and you impacted them. You just put a brick in the wall in their life. You encourage them. You help them along their path. It means a lot. That's the epitome of coaching. I always tell everybody, the best trophies you'll ever get as a parent or as a coach, a mentor, whatever, even a boss, will be when somebody you impacted is having, a beer, a soda, a milkshake with somebody in a far off state, and the question is, who is somebody who's really important to you, and maybe you're part of that conversation, and they say, Coach Brown, was a big part of my high school days. We'll never know about that trophy. You don't get the ESPN, the Grammy Awards, the trophy, so everybody can acknowledge you. And I know that, and any good coach knows that. Any good teacher knows that. They don't often get that trophy. They just know when they look down the road, they see the fruits of their labor. So Hoover is big. My house is 2 miles from his boy at home. So yeah.
Well,
Good
Dave,
story. Great story.
yeah, it's a great story, isn't it? But as we're closing out the show, we can't forget next week is Father's Day. So
Yep.
got a big message for dads, and talk about your role, and then just go ahead and close out the show, Dave. Okay?
Yeah,
Thanks
I appreciate that, Rob. I know you're a dad. I'm a dad. Whatever side of the coin you're on that thing. I just know as a dad, um, just my boys acknowledging me, and I'm getting to spend days with my oldest son Paul right now. It's the best. I got to have lunch with my other son Josh the other day, and it's the best. A couple weeks ago, I had my lunch with my other son Tyler, and it was the best. Um, as they get older, you don't get that same opportunity to be the same type of dad. Um, I know back when Paul was like, 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old. I can remember his first bats, his first basketball shot he made. You remember it all. But if you're fortunate enough to have a dad, let them know. Do something for them. They don't need a present. They need you. If you're anywhere in driving distance, go see them. That's the best. If you're not within driving distance, you need to FaceTime. Let them see all this. Let them see what you got. Show them maybe a FaceTime of your office or your garage and your hobby or whatever you're doing. As a dad, that's what I would want. And just let them know how much you love them, how much they meant you. And if you have a dad out there that maybe wasn't as stellar as you would hope for, take the high road anyway, and just let them know, I love you, Dad. Thank you. Not all men are great dads. We struggle with this. We're difficult, humans. It's not easy to be a dad, but it's also not easy to have a dad that wasn't, what maybe you thought of. But cut him some slack and just tell him you love him. If you have time to send them a card or something, they don't really need a lot of presents. I mean, one of these days I want my boys to get me a red Corvette. That'd be sweet. But it's something that, I just love it when they call. I love to talk to them. I love when I get to have, lunch with them, which I've gotten to do the last couple of days. So boy, oh boy, honor your dads. Father's Day is a big, big deal. Just like moms, honor them. And take the time. Don't not take the time. A FaceTime call could take minutes. But I highly suggest cell phone, FaceTime, or do a video. There you go. Take a video of, honestly, I would love this. Take a video of your shop, of your garage, of you and your buddies, what you're doing. If you live in Sacramento and your dad lives in Seattle, whatever, take a video and have your buddies videotape it and just, talk to your dad a little bit. That would be my favorite gift you could possibly get me. And if my boys actually sent me a video and they were rocking out to JD McPherson or Led Zeppelin or something like that and just kind of having a good time, that would just be all the better. So I wish all you dads out there great success. We're welcoming you more and more and more to Stand Tall with Dave Brown because we really want to speak to dads. We really want to help you in any way you can. It's a different world than it was a few years ago, and we all have to learn how to adjust to it. So if you're not a dad, make sure you're ready to be a dad. Don't be in such a hurry. I was 27 and a half when my first son was born, and I'd say that's about the right age to start. Don't do it when you're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Don't do it. You're not just quite ready. Let yourself go have fun. Be in the military like Rob. Go do some stuff. Go to college. Go in the military. Go get a job somewhere. Travel a little bit, and then when you settle down, you'll be a much better dad. But when you are a dad, put 100% into it. I stopped golfing for 20 years because I'd rather be with my kids than I was on a golf course. Love golf, having enough fun with it now, but I just remember putting the clubs away one day, going, I got to stop, man. Stop playing softball. I still played basketball. So I didn't give up everything, but being a dad will be the greatest thing you ever do. Stand tall with Dave Brown. Make sure, and if you live in Oregon or Idaho or Washington, you want to get down to Make Oregon Great Again in Jackson County outside of Medford down there. It's coming up on June 22nd. Make Oregon Great Again. Look it up on the website and get tickets for that thing and get down there. You will love it. There's some great speakers happening. Get on their website and you'll find out what's going on. I highly suggest that. You want something made out of metal? Go to Grove Fabrication. Go online, look it up. Grove, Grov, Grove, and fabrication. He'll make anything out of metal. I got a flag on our studio thing that I'm not at right now, but it looks a lot like this, and it's awesome. He made it for me, and he's got great prices. He can make gates coming into your ranch to smaller artsy stuff like that. And so wine racks made out of horseshoes for a horse. Fantastic. Want the best root beer freeze in Oregon? Go see Eric Harrison at Gym 100 in Newburgh, Oregon. It'll change your life. This is Dave Brown at Stand Tall. Go to DaveBrownStandTall.com. Judy and I are looking forward to coming at you guys all the time. And Judy is going to be coming into more women's ministry type stuff and speaking to women on business, marketing, and coming straight at women. So be looking forward to that. Rob, thanks for joining me today. This is Stand Tall with Dave Brown. Peace out.